Hey, what's going on, everybody? I know it's been a really long time since I made one of these videos, and for good reason. For good reason. God and I have been on an amazing journey these past few months, and part of me feels bad. Well, not just a part of me, a big part of me feels bad that I haven't been making these kind of videos to share with everyone because that was the whole point. It was to share with any of you who do not believe, or if you're like on the fence or you have questions. It was for you, to show you that there's way more in his book, and way more in this book, way more in his word than just the stories that are being regurgitated over and over and over again. And also, it was for all of us who do believe, because a lot of us who do believe, even they have questions. Even some of them have questions. Or maybe they're not totally sure how to answer questions that you guys that do not believe have. They're not totally sure how to give a true answer, except for the generic ones, like, God loves you, he's there for you, and everything like that. But my point is that that was the point of these videos. And so I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I stopped making the videos a while ago. And to be completely honest, I was afraid. Of what? Don't really know. I especially didn't know back then. Um, but it's so amazing how everything comes full circle. So what I want to do is share with you my last journal entry. Now, this book, my most like like most vulnerable thoughts in here, right? And so something that I did want to share with all of you, to kind of, I guess, give like a theme of what's been going on these past few months and why I'm here now. So without further ado, I guess. Today, I have learned what it truly means to walk by faith, not by sight. And it's wondrous to see how all things indeed work together for the good for those who love him. Truly, all things are revealed. Now, back when I, made my last video, I said, I was afraid and all that kind of stuff. But I never gave up on God, and God certainly never gave up on me. But there was something I was feeling that I wasn't dealing with, I was ignoring. And it's so crazy because I would talk about that in my previous videos, and then I actually go through it on a very deep level. Sorry, I'm saying but I go through that in a very deep level, and I'm so thankful that God did continue to reveal things to me, and now I'm back here. So keep on going with this entry. I said, the runner does not focus on the path that lies before them, but only the step that lies in front of them. Now, that's my own personal quote. So, like when you're going for a run, the runner is not looking up and looking at the entire path that's like all the way down the road. They're simply like looking down and seeing the step that lies right before them. A couple of weeks ago, I expressed a weight that weighed heavy on my heart to my wife, Samantha. All I saw were countless trees blocking the path. It was like there's so much that I would want, not want in life like material things, but as a man, you want to take care of your wife, take care of your family, make sure that things are provided for, things are protected, and all these things. And so there's a lot that just comes at once. And then with my, career, I went into health and fitness, but I didn't go into health and fitness based in truth. I kind of went with some other internal things that I wasn't dealing with, that I was ignoring, and all that kind of stuff. So now I'm trying to do something else and build something, and so everything just comes like crashing all at once. And so for me, the visual representation was like there are just tons of trees blocking the path. So I'm looking, and there's just all these trees, and I can't see where to go through. You see what I'm saying? So that's what I mean by that weight, that it was like all these trees and all that. That's what I was explaining to my wife a couple of weeks ago. But then she actually helped me. She helped me focus on the main one that I had to cut down. And so as we were talking, it's so amazing. Lord, thank you so much for my wife. Like, like that definitely, that is my wife. Like, that is the woman that you have given me. Absolutely, 100%. She helped me. I was talking about everything, and she helped me to identify. Sorry about that. She helped me to identify the. Actually, let me turn that down because I'm. Yeah, I figured it was going to keep on going. There we go. So she helped me to identify the main tree, a tree that has been blocking my life, like my progression in my life since I was like a kid. And so she's like, Cornelius, I don't think anything else that you do in your life is going to matter if you don't start cutting down that tree. And to be completely transparent with all of you, the tree has always been dealing with my body. I've always been very insecure about my body, especially when I was a kid. I mean, I'm not really insecure now about my body, but when I was a kid, I was extremely insecure about my body. And I still don't have the body that I want. I still don't. I still have this belly that I do not want to have, and all that kind of stuff. And I worked hard to try to lose weight and all that kind of stuff. So it was a mental thing, it was an emotional thing, and somewhat even a spiritual thing when it came to my body. Uh, it was just rough. It was just rough. People who know me on a very deep level, they know how rough that part of my life actually is. Uh, and so she reminded me of that. And so I was like, okay, that's a tree that I'm going to start cutting down. So then I actually began running every morning. I chose running because I hate running. I absolutely hate running. And so I said to myself, if you want to be disciplined, you want to build that characteristic, then you look at what you don't like and you say, that's where I can grow. There's no point in me doing what I do like to do. There's no growth there. So I don't like running, so I'm gonna run. Then I said, the last two runs, so today's run and yesterday's run. The last two runs have been what I call a mental run. Yesterday's run, I'm going down the road, and there's this spot. Well, let me say this first. When I would go for the run, I would just run until I got kind of exhausted or kind of gassed out, and then I would pick a spot on the road to run to. So I wouldn't actually say, "Oh, I'm going to run to this spot." I would keep running and running and running until I got tired. And once I got tired, then I in a sense, began my run. I decided, okay, that's where I'm going to stop the run. So yesterday, I ran a different direction that I had gone. I had gone there before, but there's this one area where uh, the road kind of cuts off. And so the last time I had run down that way, I stopped there. So yesterday, when I got there, my mind, at the closer and closer and closer I got, my mind was like, you know, you're gonna have to stop soon. You're gonna have to stop soon. You're gonna have to stop soon. And so the mental made my body almost tired, like almost feeling like it's gonna get gassed out. And I'm like, no, 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 you're not tired. Actually, you just think that because that's the end, like you can't go any further, that's it, that you're tired. You know what I mean? And so I'm running. I'm getting closer and closer and closer. My mind is saying, oh, you're almost at the end. You're almost at the end. You're almost at the end. So you're gonna get tired. And I had to push through that and say, no, Cornelius, you can keep going. Just because there's no road right there doesn't mean that you can't keep going. You can just go on the grass and just keep on running down the road. Like I can't run on the road because there was no shoulder, but I can run on the grass. And so when I did that, I was like, oh yeah. So I ran on the grass and kept on going. So that was yesterday's run. But today's run, this morning, I had doubt that I could reach the end. What I like to do on a run is like if I have gone a certain distance, then the next time I run, I want to not only reach that same distance, but go a little bit further. And so when I went down that road, I was like, okay, I've already gone a long way down this road. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to reach that. So I had doubt that I could reach the end. Focus on the next step, is what I said. Just focus on the next step. And then eventually I got there. I even went further than last time. And I had noticed that on my runs where I wasn't really looking up on my runs. I was just looking down and looking at the next step. And so when I had those mental runs, that really came in handy. Last night, I told my wife, and this is completely different from the runs. Last night, I told my wife that we have two ways of living this life. You have discipline and freedom, or fear and doubt. Fear and doubt will make you sit still. Discipline is when we get up and walk, which allows us to be free. When we're afraid and we have doubt, well, fear only comes from doubt. Like from this morning's run, when I had doubt that I could reach the end. If I would have lived in that, I would have been afraid and I would have sat still. I would have just sat in the house. I wouldn't have done anything. But I was like, I don't want that. It's the discipline that allows you to get up and walk. And because you're walking, now you have freedom. Then I said, today I have sinned. And I sinned because I was afraid. Afraid of how infinite this path could be. Those who know me, I mean really know me, and there's only like a few. They know I have what I call a strange relationship with God. Not bad, but it was just always different. And I used to question, I was like, why does it seem like I see things differently and there's more going on and I don't know. but it's God's path. And it's a path that I also choose myself. But it's infinite. That's the thing. This path, and whatever path you're on, whatever path anybody is on, it's an infinite path. You have no idea how far it can go, how much you can grow. It's infinite. You see what I'm saying? So I was afraid of how infinite the path could be. Maybe some of you have felt the same way. Something that you wanted to do in your life, and then you really think about how great it could be, and then you become afraid. Maybe I'm only saying that because misery likes company. I don't know. Then I said, I'm only afraid because I looked up. And just like the run this morning, when I looked up, I saw the path that lied ahead. And then there was doubt. It was just like the run. I looked up, I saw the road ahead, and then I had doubt. And the same thing happened in my spiritual path, in my spiritual walk. I look up, see how infinite it is, and I have doubt that I can get there. And then that doubt creates fear, and the fear makes me sit still. That's what I said here. When we look up, we live in fear and doubt. When we look down, we live in discipline and freedom. We are told to walk by faith, not sight. When you look down, you only see the step before you, and you have faith that the step that God presented to you is indeed on the path. You walk in faith because you never know where the steps will lead. But you have faith and trust in God that the steps are of the path. And this disciplined faith gives you the freedom to walk the path. But if you look up, you will be filled with fear and doubt. Not because of darkness, but because of how bright it is. And you will become afraid and doubt that you will get there. And your fear and doubt will make you sit still, never to walk again. Unless you hear his words. Walk by faith, not by sight. And that's the whole entry. Like I said, it is amazing how everything just came together. You know, I had a spiritual weight, I had a mental weight, I had an emotional weight, and then I expressed things to my wife, which is what we are to do. I mean, it's God, me, and my wife, and we are to discuss things together. We are a team. And so there was something I was feeling. It's like with Adam and Eve. Like if you watch the previous videos with Adam and Eve, Eve was feeling something and she didn't say anything. So I was feeling something and I wasn't saying something for a while. And it wasn't good for my relationship with God, and it wasn't good for my relationship with my wife because I am separating myself from them. Not really like I'm going away from God or away from my wife, but it's like there's something that I'm holding on to that makes it no longer a team. And so It's not to say that I wasn't expressing things to God, like I wasn't expressing anything to God, or I wasn't expressing anything to my wife. But there was one thing that I had yet to express to them. And so I started expressing it to God, and it was great. But I also had to express it to my wife. And so that night, it was great that I expressed that. And then I gave her the picture of all the trees, and then she told me about the one tree, which was going to be the body, right? To work on the body. And so then I'm like, okay, then I go for the runs. And then the runs, I end up learning that to look at the next step. Don't look down the road, look at the next step, which then in turn uh, helped me with everything else. Help me to understand walking by faith and not by sight. That this spiritual weight that I have has nothing to do with how dark the path is. You know, yea, though I walk through the valley of shadow of death, I will fear no evil. And I don't fear that. So then I look in the mirror and I'm like, what are you afraid of? Because like I said, I had sinned, but I had sinned because I was afraid. And I looked at myself in the mirror for a second and began to walk away. I came right back to the mirror and said, no, no, no. You're going to face yourself. So I asked, what are you afraid of? And it was the infinite path that lies before me. And I had doubt that I could get there. And then the Lord reminds me of the running. You look at the next step. And then the Lord brings you right back to his own word. Walk by faith, not by sight. And that's what it means to walk by faith and not by sight. You look down. You look at the next step right in front of you. And you have no idea if this step is going to indeed lead you down the path that you would want to go down. But you trust and have faith in God. But the step that he is showing you is indeed on the path that is for you. So, like I said, there's been a lot more that's been happening these past few months. But it's like stuff like that that's been going on. And I say all this because, like I said, whether you believe or not, there's way more to God and his word than just the stories. There's way more. Way, 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 way more. So, I love you guys and thank you for taking the time to watch it. I hope something resonated with you. And if you have any questions, whether you believe or you do not believe, you have any questions at all, please, please do not hesitate to ask me. Like I said, I love you guys. I hope you got something from everything. May God be with you. All right. I will talk to you next time.